Throughout the vast expanse of human history, a fundamental question has echoed in the hearts and minds of people across all cultures and civilizations. What is the path to salvation? This profound inquiry, a search for ultimate purpose, spiritual fulfillment, and a connection to the divine, lies at the very core of our existence. For billions of people around the world, this journey is guided by the principles of faith, a compass pointing towards a higher truth. In Islamic theology, this quest for salvation is not merely a philosophical exercise, but a lived reality, a guiding principle that shapes the daily lives, beliefs, and actions of millions. It's a journey that is both personal and communal, a path laid out through divine revelation and prophetic guidance, promising peace and eternal reward. The concept of salvation in Islam, known as Najat, is a rich and multifaceted one. It encompasses liberation from sin, deliverance from the trials of this world, and the ultimate attainment of paradise in the afterlife. This is not a passive state, but an active pursuit, requiring unwavering faith, righteous deeds, and complete submission to the will of Allah, the one true God. The path is illuminated by the teachings of the Quran, the sacred scripture believed to be the final revelation from God, and the life of the Prophet Muhammad, who serves as the ultimate role model for all of humanity. This spiritual journey is one of continuous effort, reflection, and a deep, personal relationship with the Creator, weaving together belief and action into a seamless tapestry of devotion. While the core tenets of Islamic salvation are well established, there are layers of understanding and symbolism that offer deeper insights into this spiritual quest. One such intriguing framework is the concept of a triple Trinity. This term, often associated with other major world religions, finds a unique and profound resonance within the context of Islamic thought. It is not a trinity in the Christian sense of a triune Godhead, but rather a symbolic representation of interconnected spiritual forces that guide a believer towards completeness. This framework provides a lens through which we can explore the intricate relationships between the divine, the prophetic, and the deeply human elements that constitute the path to spiritual fulfillment in Islam. This exploration delves into the powerful symbolism of these triadic relationships, examining how they illuminate the journey towards salvation. We will uncover how figures like Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, and his mother Amina form a foundational trinity of divine guidance, prophetic example, and nurturing love. Furthermore, we will see how this concept expands to include other significant figures from the shared Abrahamic heritage, such as Jesus, Mary, and Allah, or Rebecca, Jacob, and the children of Israel. By understanding these intertwined figures and their symbolic importance, we can gain a more holistic appreciation of the universal themes of faith, compassion, and divine purpose that connect diverse spiritual traditions and guide humanity's collective search for meaning. The term Triple Trinity may initially seem paradoxical, especially within a strictly monotheistic faith like Islam. It is crucial to clarify from the outset that this concept does not challenge the fundamental Islamic principle of Tawhid, the absolute oneness of God. Instead, it serves as a powerful symbolic framework, a way of conceptualizing the dynamic interplay between key figures who are central to the narrative of salvation. It is a theological lens that helps to organize and understand the different facets of divine intervention and human response. This framework allows us to appreciate the distinct yet complementary roles played by each figure, creating a more comprehensive picture of the spiritual path laid out for believers, a path that is both divinely ordained and humanly traversed. At the heart of this exploration is the primary triad within Islamic tradition: Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, and his mother, Amina. Allah stands as the ultimate source of all existence, the singular, merciful, and just creator to whom all worship is directed. Muhammad, as the final prophet and messenger, is the perfect human conduit for Allah's divine message, his life and teachings, providing the practical blueprint for a righteous existence. Amina, often a more understated figure, represents the crucial element of nurturing, love, and the foundational human environment necessary for a prophet's development. Together, they form a powerful triad representing divine authority, prophetic guidance, and the compassionate human matrix from which spiritual leadership emerges. This concept of a symbolic trinity extends beyond this primary group, creating a fascinating web of interfaith connections. The brief introduces other significant trios that enrich our understanding, such as the relationship between Jesus, his mother Mary, and Allah. In Islam, Jesus, Isa, is a revered prophet, And Mary, Maryam, is held in the highest esteem as a model of purity and faith. Their story, intertwined with the omnipotence of Allah, highlights universal themes of miraculous birth, divine compassion, and the vital role of women in spiritual narratives. Similarly, the story of Jacob, his mother Rebekah, and the subsequent Israelite children offers another powerful example of a Trinity shaping the destiny of a people rooted in faith, familial bonds, and divine promise. By examining these various triple trinities, we begin to see a recurring pattern, a divine architecture that emphasizes the interconnectedness of faith, guidance, and human experience across different traditions. These frameworks are not meant to create rigid theological doctrines, but to offer profound insights into the nature of salvation itself. They demonstrate that the path to spiritual completeness is multifaceted, involving not only submission to divine will, but also the emulation of prophetic character and the embrace of nurturing, compassionate values. This exploration reveals why these intertwined figures matter not just within their specific religious contexts, but as part of a larger, shared human story of seeking connection with the divine. To truly grasp the concept of the Triple Trinity within Islamic thought, we must first turn our attention to its foundational triad, Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, and his mother Amina. This particular grouping is not a statement on the nature of God, but rather a symbolic representation of the complete pathway to salvation. It is a framework that beautifully illustrates the essential components required for a believer's spiritual journey. Each member of this triad plays a distinct and indispensable role. Together they represent the divine source of guidance, the human vessel for that guidance, and the nurturing environment that allows such a profound connection to flourish. This is a story of divine will, prophetic action, and maternal love, all interwoven to create a complete picture of spiritual development. Imagine a journey towards a distant, radiant destination. Allah is the destination itself, the ultimate goal and the light that guides the way. Muhammad is the map and the compass, the one who has walked the path and shows others how to navigate its challenges and its wonders. Amina, then, is the very ground upon which the journey begins, the firm and loving foundation that provides the strength and stability needed to take those first crucial steps. This analogy helps us see how these three figures are not in competition, but are in perfect, harmonious alignment. Their relationship underscores a profound theological truth, that divine guidance is made accessible to humanity through a perfect human example, and that this example is itself shaped by the fundamental human experience of love and care. This triad represents a holistic model for a life lived in faith. It moves beyond abstract theology and grounds the path to salvation in tangible, relational terms. Worshipping Allah alone is the core tenet, the ultimate purpose of life. Following the teachings and example of the Prophet Muhammad provides the practical, day-to-day methodology for living a life that is pleasing to Allah. And finally, embracing the values embodied by Amina, compassion, nurturing, and unconditional support, cultivates the heart and character necessary to truly internalize these divine teachings. It is the integration of these three aspects that leads to spiritual completeness, where faith, action, and character are all aligned towards a single, divine purpose. Therefore, the triad of Allah, Muhammad, and Amina serves as a powerful spiritual paradigm. It provides a comprehensive answer to the question of how one achieves salvation. It is not enough to simply believe in God, nor is it enough to merely perform rituals. The framework suggests that true salvation involves a transformation of the entire self. This transformation is guided by Allah's revelation, modeled by Muhammad's life, and rooted in the kind of foundational love that Amina represents. Understanding this core triad is the first and most critical step in appreciating the broader symbolism of the Triple Trinity and its implications for a believer's life. At the absolute center of this spiritual framework, and indeed at the center of all Islamic belief, stands Allah. Allah is the one and only God, the singular, indivisible, and supreme creator of the heavens and the earth. In the Triple Trinity of salvation, Allah is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning of the journey and its ultimate end. He is the supreme spiritual authority, the source of all knowledge, wisdom, and guidance. Every prayer is directed to Him, every act of worship is for Him, and every hope for salvation rests in His infinite mercy. His role is not simply one of a distant, uninvolved creator. He is described in the Quran as being closer to a person than their own jugular vein, signifying an intimate and ever-present reality. The relationship between a believer and Allah is the most fundamental aspect of the Islamic faith. It is a relationship built on submission, or Islam, trust, known as tawakkul, and gratitude, or shukr. The path to salvation begins and ends with the recognition of His oneness, tawhid, and His absolute power over all things. In the context of our triad, Allah is the divine will that sets the entire narrative in motion. It was His will that a final message be sent to humanity, His choice that Muhammad would be the messenger, and His plan that this messenger would be born to a woman of noble character like Amina. Every element of the salvation story flows directly from His divine decree, reinforcing His position as the ultimate source of all goodness. Allah's attributes, as described in the Quran, are key to understanding His role. He is Al-Rahman, the most gracious, and Al-Rahim, the most merciful, qualities that offer hope and reassurance to believers. He is also Al-Hakam, the judge, and Al-Adl, the just, ensuring that righteousness will be rewarded and injustice will be accounted for. This balance between mercy and justice provides the moral and ethical foundation for a believer's life. The quest for salvation is, in essence, a quest to live in a way that reflects these divine attributes, to be merciful to others, to act with justice, and to live in a state of constant awareness of God's presence. Allah is not just the destination, He is also the moral compass for the journey. Thus, within the symbolic triple Trinity, Allah's role is that of the ultimate reality and the primary mover. He is the source of the divine light that illuminates the path. Muhammad and Amina are crucial vessels and facilitators of this light, but the light itself originates from Allah alone. This distinction is vital, as it preserves the core Islamic teaching of God's absolute oneness, while still allowing for a richer understanding of how His divine plan unfolds in the human world. Recognizing Allah as the supreme authority and the wellspring of all guidance is the bedrock upon which the entire structure of salvation is built. Without this foundation, the rest of the framework would have no meaning. If Allah is the divine source of guidance, then the Prophet Muhammad is the perfect human embodiment of that guidance. He serves as the bridge between the divine realm and the human world, translating God's eternal message into a lived reality that people can understand and emulate. Muhammad's role in the triad is that of the ideal model, the or most beautiful pattern of conduct as described in the Quran. He was not a divine being, but a man who lived a life of such impeccable character, integrity, and devotion that he became the ultimate example for all of humanity. His life is the practical application of the Quran, a walking, talking demonstration of how to live in complete submission to Allah's will. Muhammad's mission was to deliver the final revelation, the Quran, and to establish a community founded on its principles of justice, compassion, and monotheism. He was a spiritual leader, a statesman, a teacher, a husband, a father, and a friend. In every one of these roles, he exemplified the highest moral and ethical standards. His teachings, preserved in the Hadith and Sunnah, provide a detailed blueprint for every aspect of life, from personal prayer and hygiene to complex matters of law and governance. Following Muhammad's teachings is therefore not just about religious ritual. It is about adopting a comprehensive way of life that is pleasing to God and beneficial to society. He is the guide who shows the way on the path to salvation. The Prophet's connection to Allah was profound and direct. He received revelation through the angel Gabriel, a connection that defined his life and mission. Yet he remained deeply human, experiencing joy, sorrow, struggle, and victory. This humanity is a crucial aspect of his role as a model. It makes his example accessible and relatable. Believers can look at his life and see that it is possible for a human being to achieve such a high level of spiritual and moral excellence. His journey from an orphan in Mecca to the leader of a burgeoning nation is a testament to the transformative power of faith and perseverance, offering inspiration to every individual facing their own life's challenges. In the symbolic framework of the Triple Trinity, Muhammad is the central pillar that connects the divine with the human. He receives the divine command from Allah and translates it into a tangible path for humanity. He is the living proof that God's plan is not an impossible ideal, but an achievable reality. By following his example, his patience in adversity, his humility in success, his compassion for the weak, and his unwavering devotion to Allah, believers are able to walk the path of salvation with clarity and confidence. He is the messenger, the model, and the guide, an indispensable link in the chain connecting the creation to the Creator. The third and final element of this core triad is Amina bint Wahb, the mother of the Prophet Muhammad. While her life was short and her presence in the historical record is more subtle, her role is profoundly significant. Amina represents the nurturing foundation, the human soil from which the seed of prophethood grew. Her role highlights a crucial, often overlooked aspect of spiritual development, the power of love, care, and a stable, compassionate environment. She embodies the maternal grace and strength that are essential for shaping the character of a future leader and prophet. In the triad, she represents the earthly human matrix that prepares the way for the divine message. Amina's significance lies not just in the biological act of giving birth, but in the spiritual and emotional foundation she provided for her son. Islamic tradition holds that her pregnancy and Muhammad's birth were accompanied by signs and blessings, indicating the special status of her child. She was known for her piety, nobility, and gentle character. Even in the brief years she had with him before her passing, the love and security she provided were formative. This relationship underscores the Islamic value placed on motherhood, recognizing mothers as the first and most important school for a child. Amina's role elevates this concept to a sacred level, showing that even a prophet's journey begins in the loving arms of a mother. The inclusion of Amina in this symbolic trinity brings a vital balance to the framework. It introduces the feminine principle of nurturing and compassion as an essential component of the path to salvation. While Allah represents divine authority and Muhammad represents prophetic action, Amina represents the receptive, loving heart that makes such a life possible. Her influence is a reminder that faith is not just about intellect and discipline, it is also about mercy, kindness, and human connection. Embracing the values that Amina embodies, such as selfless love, patience, and gentle strength, is part of what it means to perfect one's character and draw closer to God. Therefore, Amina completes the triad by grounding the divine and prophetic in the soil of human experience. She is the symbol of the nurturing community and the loving family that are essential for faith to take root and flourish. Her role is a testament to the idea that great spiritual destinies are not formed in a vacuum. They are cultivated through love, supported by care, and emerge from a foundation of human kindness. In understanding the Triple Trinity, Amina's role is that of the quiet but essential foundation, the gentle force that nurtures the vessel chosen to carry the final divine message to the world. The journey toward salvation in Islam begins with the most fundamental and profound step, placing one's faith entirely in Allah. This is not merely a verbal acknowledgement, but a deep, transformative conviction that resides in the heart and soul of a believer. Faith, is the bedrock upon which the entire structure of a Muslim's life is built. It is the unwavering belief in the absolute oneness of God, His divine attributes, His books, His messengers, His angels, the Day of Judgment, and His divine decree. This foundational belief orients the individual's entire existence toward a single, ultimate purpose, which is to live in a state of willing and peaceful submission to the will of the Creator. This submission is the very essence of Islam and the first gate on the path to eternal salvation. This act of faith reshapes one's perception of the world and their place within it. It provides a sense of ultimate security and meaning, knowing that all affairs are in the hands of a merciful and just God. A 2017 study by the Pew Research Center powerfully illustrates this, indicating that for 94% of Muslims globally, their faith is an essential component of their identity. This is not just a statistic, it is a reflection of a lived reality where every joy is met with gratitude to Allah and every hardship is faced with patience and trust in His divine plan. Faith in Allah is the anchor that holds a believer steady through the turbulent waters of life, providing a constant source of strength, hope, and spiritual clarity. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes that faith must be coupled with righteous action, but faith is the indispensable prerequisite. It is the inner state of being that gives meaning to the outer actions. Without genuine belief in Allah, even the most charitable or seemingly pious deeds are like a building without a foundation, destined to crumble. The Triple Trinity framework illuminates this by placing Allah as the ultimate source and authority. Salvation is impossible without first acknowledging and connecting with this divine source. It is a relationship that requires constant nurturing through prayer, reflection, and remembrance, or ensuring that the heart remains aligned with its Creator and focused on the ultimate goal of attaining His pleasure. Therefore, the first pillar of salvation through this triadic lens is the complete and sincere orientation of one's life towards Allah. This involves more than just belief. It is a commitment to see the world through the lens of recognizing his hand in all of creation and his wisdom in all of life's events. This faith is the key that unlocks the door to the spiritual journey. It is the conscious decision to turn away from the worship of all created things and to direct one's love, fear, and hope toward the one true God alone. This foundational act of faith prepares the believer to receive and act upon the guidance that comes through the prophet and to cultivate the character exemplified by Amina. Once faith in Allah is firmly established in the heart, the next essential step is to follow the teachings and emulate the life of the Prophet Muhammad. If faith is the destination on the spiritual map, then Muhammad is the guide who provides the detailed directions for the journey. Allah, in His mercy, did not leave humanity to guess how to live a life pleasing to Him. He sent the Prophet as a living example of the Quran's teachings, a perfect model of conduct. Adhering to his example, known as the Sunnah, is a direct command from God and indispensable for salvation. The teachings of the Prophet, preserved in the collections of Hadith, cover every aspect of human existence. They provide guidance on prayer and fasting to business ethics, treating neighbors with kindness, and principles of just governance. This comprehensive guidance ensures that faith permeates every facet of daily life. Following Muhammad's teachings translates internal faith into external actions, transforming belief into a dynamic force for good in personal lives and communities. This emulation is not blind imitation, but a deep, loving desire to walk in his footsteps. It involves studying his character, his patience in persecution, his humility in victory, his generosity to the poor, and compassion for all creation. By embodying these qualities, a believer purifies their character and draws closer to the divine. Following the Sunnah is an act of love for the Prophet and for Allah. In the framework of the Triple Trinity, Muhammad is the practical implementer of the divine will. He demonstrates what submission looks like in practice. By following his teachings, actions align with God's pleasure, paving the way toward salvation. The Quran makes this explicit. If you should love Allah, then follow me, so Allah will love you and forgive your sins. This verse encapsulates the second stage, a path of loving obedience that leads to God's love and forgiveness. The path to salvation is not complete with faith and action alone. It requires a third element, which is the cultivation of a virtuous and compassionate heart. This is where the symbolic role of Amina, the Prophet's mother, becomes profoundly important. She represents the nurturing, loving, and merciful qualities that are essential for faith to truly blossom. While faith in Allah provides the direction and following, Muhammad provides the methodology. Embracing the values embodied by Amina provides the fertile soil in which the seeds of faith and action can grow into a beautiful, fruit-bearing tree. These are the inner qualities of the heart that give life and sincerity to one's worship and dealings with others. Amina's legacy inspires believers to act with kindness, integrity, and a deep sense of moral responsibility. She represents the archetype of the nurturing caregiver whose selfless love creates an environment of security and warmth. In a spiritual sense, believers are called to cultivate this same nurturing quality within themselves and their communities. This means showing compassion to the vulnerable, caring for one's family, upholding ties of kinship, and acting with gentleness and empathy in all interactions. These virtues are not peripheral to the faith. They are at its very core. The Prophet Muhammad himself emphasized this, stating that the best among people are those who are best in character. Embracing these values aligns perfectly with the overarching teachings of Islam. The Quran and the Hadith are replete with injunctions to be merciful, to forgive others, to be patient, and to show kindness. The qualities attributed to Amina, her piety, her gentleness, and her supportive nature, serve as a powerful, humanizing reminder of these divine commands. Her role in the triad highlights the importance of the feminine aspects of spirituality: receptivity, compassion, and the ability to nurture life. This creates a more balanced and holistic approach to salvation, one that values the quiet strength of a kind heart as much as the outward display of righteous deeds. Therefore, the third component of this integrated path to salvation is the conscious effort to develop a beautiful character. It is about polishing the heart until it reflects the divine attributes of mercy and love. This involves looking to figures like Amina, as well as Mary and Rebecca, from the broader Abrahamic tradition as sources of inspiration for developing these essential virtues. By integrating faith in God, adherence to prophetic guidance, and the cultivation of a compassionate character, the believer walks a complete and balanced path. This inward purification ensures that one's faith is not merely a set of rules to be followed, but a living, breathing reality that transforms the self and beautifies the world. The true power of the Triple Trinity framework lies not in its individual components, but in their seamless integration. Salvation is not achieved by focusing on one aspect to the exclusion of the others, but by weaving them together into a cohesive whole. Faith in Allah, following the example of Muhammad, and embodying the virtues of Amina are three strands of a single strong rope that pulls a believer towards spiritual success. This integrated approach provides a comprehensive and balanced blueprint for a life of purpose, ensuring that the spiritual journey addresses the mind, the body, and the heart in equal measure, leading to a state of profound inner and outer harmony. This framework matters because it makes the abstract concept of salvation tangible and accessible. It breaks down the quest for divine pleasure into three understandable and actionable principles. A believer knows they must first and foremost direct their worship to Allah alone, establishing a firm foundation of faith. They then have a clear role model in the Prophet Muhammad, whose life provides a practical guide for every situation. Finally, the example of Amina reminds them of the importance of character and compassion, the inner state that gives sincerity to their faith and actions. This holistic model prevents the faith from becoming either a dry, intellectual exercise or a set of empty rituals, grounding it in a lived reality of belief, action, and virtue. Furthermore, this framework highlights the profound interconnectedness of the divine and the human. It shows how Allah's divine plan for salvation is actualized through human beings, a prophet chosen to deliver the message, and a mother chosen to nurture that prophet. This serves as a powerful reminder that every individual has a role to play in the divine tapestry. It elevates the status of ordinary human experiences like motherhood and showing kindness to acts of spiritual significance. This perspective empowers believers, helping them to see that their daily actions, when performed with the right intention, are part of their own journey toward salvation and contribute to the well-being of the entire community. Ultimately, the Triple Trinity framework is a powerful tool for understanding and attaining salvation because it is complete. It addresses the fundamental relationship with the Creator, the practical application of divine law, and the essential purification of the human heart. By striving to fulfill all three aspects, a believer embarks on a transformative journey that changes not only their own destiny, but also their impact on the world around them. This integrated path leads to a life of balance, purpose, and deep spiritual contentment, which is the very essence of salvation in this life and the ultimate hope for the life to come. Across the rich and diverse landscape of Islamic art and architecture, from the intricate tilework of the Alhambra to the majestic domes of mosques in Persia, a recurring geometric motif captures the eye and the imagination: the six-pointed star. While often more famously associated with other traditions, this symbol, known as the Khatem al-Sulayman or Seal of Solomon, holds a deep and multifaceted significance within Islamic culture. It is more than mere decoration. It is a powerful symbol that speaks to fundamental concepts of faith, the universe, and humanity's place within it. Its perfect symmetry and interlocking design have long been used by artists and thinkers to represent harmony, balance, and the interconnectedness of all things under God. The star's presence in Islamic heritage is a testament to the faith's emphasis on order and divine geometry. Islamic art, often aniconic, turned to the universal languages of mathematics and pattern to express spiritual truths. The six-pointed star, formed by two overlapping equilateral triangles, became a perfect vehicle for this expression. It represents the order that Allah has created in the cosmos, a universe built upon precise and beautiful principles. For many mystics and philosophers within the Islamic tradition, geometry was seen as a sacred science, a way to understand the mind of the Creator by studying the patterns of His creation. The star was a key that could unlock deeper understanding of the divine blueprint. The symbolism of the star is not monolithic. It carries various layers of meaning that have evolved over centuries. In some contexts, it is seen as a symbol of divine wisdom and protection, linked to the Prophet Solomon, who was revered in Islam as a wise king and prophet, given power over the seen and unseen worlds. His seal, believed to bear this shape, represented his authority, which was granted by God. This association infuses the star with a sense of sacred power and divine knowledge. It becomes a visual reminder of the wisdom that comes from submission to Allah and the protective embrace that faith provides to a believer against the forces of chaos and ignorance. Therefore, the six-pointed star in Islamic culture is far from a simple borrowed image. It is a profound symbol deeply embedded in a worldview that sees the divine signature in the patterns of the universe. It represents the harmony between the spiritual and the material, the unseen and the seen. Its geometric perfection is a reflection of the perfection of God's creation, inviting contemplation and awe. Understanding its place in Islamic art and thought is the first step toward appreciating how its very structure can be used to illustrate the deep theological concepts at the heart of the faith, including the powerful relationships found within the Triple Trinity framework. The elegant geometry of the six-pointed star offers a remarkably potent visual metaphor for the Triple Trinity and the path to salvation. The star is composed of two interlocking equilateral triangles, separate yet inseparable, creating a single unified shape. This duality within unity is the key to its symbolic power. One triangle, pointing upwards, can be seen to represent the ascent toward the divine realm. It symbolizes the human aspiration for connection with God, the act of prayer, and the soul's journey towards its creator. This upward-pointing triangle embodies the active pursuit of faith, the striving and the seeking that are essential parts of a believer's life, reflecting our reach towards the heavens. Conversely, the second triangle, pointing downwards, represents the descent of divine grace, revelation, and mercy into the earthly realm. It is a symbol of God's guidance reaching down to humanity, the Quran being sent, and the prophets being chosen to deliver the message. This downward-pointing triangle signifies the receptive aspect of faith, the act of submission and acceptance of the divine will. It is a visual representation of Allah's boundless mercy flowing down to His creation, providing the light and the guidance necessary for salvation. This divine grace is not earned through human effort alone. It is a gift bestowed upon those who open their hearts to receive it. When these two triangles interlock, they form the complete six-pointed star, symbolizing the perfect harmony between the human and the divine. This is precisely where the symbolism of the Triple Trinity finds its visual home. The relationship between Allah, Muhammad, and Amina is perfectly mirrored in this sacred geometry. The downward triangle represents the divine will of Allah, sending His message through His chosen prophet, Muhammad. The upward triangle symbolizes humanity's response, the following of Muhammad's teachings and the cultivation of Amina's virtues, which guide the believer back toward Allah. The star is the point of meeting, where divine revelation is met with human submission and love. This interlocking form illustrates that salvation is not a one-way street. It is a dynamic relationship, a covenant between God and humanity. It requires both the divine initiative and the human response. The star teaches us that our upward striving is met by God's descending grace. The life of the Prophet Muhammad is the central point of intersection, where these two forces meet in perfect harmony. In this way, the six-pointed star becomes more than just a shape. It becomes a theological diagram, a map of the path to salvation that beautifully illustrates how the divine, the prophetic, and the human elements of the Triple Trinity are interwoven to create a single, complete truth. The six-pointed star, with its 6 points and central hexagonal space, is rich with numerological significance that reinforces its role as a symbol of spiritual completeness. The number 6 in many traditions, including those that influenced Islamic thought, represents balance, harmony, and perfection. It is the number of the days of creation, after which God established His order. The 6 points of the star can be seen to represent the core beliefs of Islam: faith in God, His angels, His books, His messengers, the Day of Judgment, and divine decree. The star thus becomes a visual creed, a summary of the foundational principles that bring a believer's faith to a state of wholeness and completion. This idea of completeness is further deepened when we consider the numerology of the brief, the concept of 2 and 4 equaling 6. This can be interpreted symbolically within our framework. The two principles could represent the fundamental duality of faith and action, or the divine and the human. The 4 could represent a set of core virtues, like compassion, integrity, patience, and gratitude, that are nurtured within the believer's heart, qualities embodied by figures like Amina. The fusion of these elements, 2 and 4, results in the complete spiritual being, represented by the 6-pointed star. It is a holistic approach where belief and deed are fortified by a virtuous character, creating a soul that is perfectly balanced. The The geometry of the star as the union of two triangles, one pointing to the sky, the other to the ground, is a universal symbol for the marriage of heaven and earth. It represents the reconciliation of opposites, spirit and matter, the creator and the creation, the masculine and the feminine principles. In the context of the Triple Trinity, this union is the ultimate goal of salvation. It is to live a life on earth that is in perfect alignment with the will of heaven. This is achieved by anchoring one's faith in Allah, while walking the path of Muhammad and embodying the virtues of Amina on earth. The star symbolizes this state of being, where a person becomes a bridge between worlds. Ultimately, the six-pointed star serves as a powerful and elegant emblem for the entire spiritual journey outlined in the Triple Trinity framework. It is a symbol that encapsulates the harmony between divine guidance and human response, the balance of faith and action, and the integration of authority and compassion. Its perfect symmetrical form is a visual promise of the inner peace and completeness that can be achieved when a believer aligns their life with the divine order. It reminds us that the path to salvation is a journey toward unity, where the disparate parts of our existence are brought together into a single, beautiful, and harmonious whole, just like the interlocking triangles of the star. The concept of a symbolic triple trinity, which we have explored through Allah, Muhammad, and Amina, is not a framework confined to a single narrative. When we expand our lens to look across the broader landscape of the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we discover a fascinating resonance of similar triadic relationships. These traditions, all stemming from the spiritual lineage of the patriarch Abraham, share a rich tapestry of prophets, stories, and theological themes. By examining these shared narratives, we can uncover parallel structures that highlight universal principles of faith, divine guidance, and the human condition. This comparative exploration does not seek to blur the distinct theological boundaries of each faith, but rather to foster a deeper appreciation for their interconnected roots and the common wisdom they offer humanity. These triple trinities in other contexts function in a similar symbolic way, illustrating the dynamic interplay between the divine, the prophetic or matriarchal, and the resulting community or legacy. For instance, the story of Jesus, his mother Mary, and Allah provides a powerful parallel that underscores themes of mercy and the miraculous. Similarly, the narrative of Jacob, his mother Rebekah, and their descendants, the Israelite children, forms a triad centered on covenant, destiny, and the formative role of matriarchs in shaping the future of a people. Even figures from the earliest annals of biblical history, like Gomer, his ancestor Noah, and Allah, can be viewed through this lens to understand genealogies, survival, and the unfolding of the divine plan for humanity after a great cataclysm. The purpose of examining these parallel trinities is to illuminate the underlying architecture of the salvation story, as it is told and retold throughout Abrahamic history. Each triad presents a unique combination of divine authority, human agency, and the nurturing element that is essential for the flourishing of faith. This exploration reveals a consistent emphasis on the importance of lineage, the powerful influence of pivotal figures, both male and female, and the unwavering presence of a single guiding divine will. It shows that while the names and specific circumstances may change, the fundamental pattern of how God interacts with humanity and guides them toward their destiny remains remarkably consistent across these sacred traditions. Ultimately, this expanded view enriches our understanding of the Triple Trinity concept itself. It demonstrates that the model of Allah, Muhammad, and Amina is part of a larger divine pattern woven into the very fabric of monotheistic revelation. By recognizing these echoes and parallels, we can engage in more meaningful interfaith dialogue, building bridges of understanding based on shared heritage and common spiritual principles. This journey through the triple trinities of Abrahamic traditions is a journey into the heart of a shared story, a story of humanity's enduring quest for connection with the one God who guides us all. Within the Islamic tradition, the story of Jesus and his mother Mary holds a place of profound reverence, forming another powerful symbolic triple trinity alongside Allah. It is crucial to understand this from an Islamic perspective, where Jesus, or Isa, is one of the most esteemed prophets of God, and Mary, or Maryam, is the only woman mentioned by name in the Quran, with an entire chapter dedicated to her. This triad of Allah, Jesus, and Mary beautifully illustrates core Islamic beliefs about divine power, prophetic mercy, and female piety. Allah is the source of the miracle. Jesus is the messenger of compassion, and Mary is the vessel of pure faith and submission, chosen by God for a unique and honorable role in salvation history. The role of Allah in this Trinity is one of absolute power and creative will. The Quranic account of Jesus' birth emphasizes that it was a direct act of God, a miracle to show humanity his omnipotence. Just as he created Adam from dust without parents, he created Jesus in the womb of Mary without a father. This act serves as a powerful ayah, or sign, of Allah's ability to do whatever he wills. His interaction in this story is one of direct, merciful intervention, bestowing upon humanity a prophet whose primary message would be one of love, compassion, and a call back to the pure worship of the one God. Allah is the author of this miraculous narrative, demonstrating his mercy through the gift of both the prophet and his pious mother. Jesus, in his role within this Islamic Trinity, is the embodiment of God's message of mercy. While he is a mighty prophet who performed many miracles by God's permission, his teachings, as understood in Islam, consistently stressed compassion, forgiveness, and love for one's fellow human beings. He is seen as a precursor to the Prophet Muhammad, reinforcing the timeless message of Tawheed and calling the children of Israel back to the path of righteousness. His inclusion in this framework creates a bridge of understanding between Christianity and Islam, highlighting a shared reverence for a figure who personifies God's gentle and merciful guidance, and whose life was a testament to the power of faith and healing. Completing this triad is Mary, a figure of immense spiritual stature in Islam. She is presented as the ultimate model of purity, devotion, and unwavering trust in God. When the angel brought her news of a son, her response was one of humble submission to the divine decree, despite the immense social challenges she would face. Mary symbolizes the strength that comes from faith and the honor God bestows upon women who are steadfast in their piety. Her role validates the nurturing and receptive aspects of spirituality, showing that true strength lies in surrendering one's will to God. Together, Allah, Jesus, and Mary form a trinity of mercy, demonstrating God's power, his compassionate message, and the pure vessel he chooses to deliver it. Miriam and Rebecca are not just supporting characters, they are central to the story of salvation. Their faith and actions shape the course of divine history, challenging patriarchal readings and highlighting the essential role of women. Miriam's purity and trust in God make her a model for all believers, showing that spiritual greatness transcends gender. Rebecca's wisdom and decisive action ensure the fulfillment of God's promise, proving the power of maternal guidance. Both women embody strength, insight, and nurturing, demonstrating that the feminine is vital to the divine plan. Their stories remind us that God works through both men and women, and that nurturing and compassion are forms of divine strength. The legacies of Miriam and Rebecca inspire us to value the feminine aspects of faith as essential, not secondary. The triad of Jacob, Rebecca, and the Israelite children is a story of covenant, struggle, and destiny. Jacob's journey from cunning youth to Israel, the patriarch, shows how God transforms imperfect people for a greater purpose. Rebecca's faith and strategy ensure the covenant passes to Jacob, highlighting the matriarch's crucial role. The 12 sons of Jacob become the tribes of Israel, embodying unity born from struggle and forgiveness. This trinity illustrates how divine promise, human action, and communal fulfillment create a nation's sacred history. Rebecca's foresight and Jacob's transformation are inseparable from the legacy of the Israelite children. Their intertwined stories show that both maternal wisdom and personal growth are essential to fulfilling God's plan. Together, they model how a family's journey becomes the foundation of a people. Gomer, Noah, and Allah form a symbolic trinity connecting humanity's origins to divine providence. Allah judges and saves, Noah preserves life through faith, and Gomer represents the spread of nations after the flood. Allah's mercy and judgment reset humanity, establishing a new covenant and a fresh start. Noah's obedience and perseverance make him the vessel of salvation for all living things. Gomer, as Noah's descendant, symbolizes the diversity of nations emerging from a single family. This trinity reminds us that all humanity shares a common ancestry rooted in divine mercy. Despite our differences, we are united by a shared origin and God's enduring purpose. Abraham, the 12 tribes, and Allah form the foundational trinity of the Abrahamic faiths. Allah initiates the covenant, Abraham responds with unwavering faith, and the 12 tribes fulfill the promise. This story is the bedrock of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. A single God, a chosen patriarch, and a people set apart. Abraham's trust in God, even in the face of the impossible, sets the standard for faith. The 12 tribes embody the realization of God's promise, forming a unified spiritual identity. This Trinity is the origin story of a faith legacy carried forward through generations. It's a narrative of divine promise, human response, and the creation of a people destined to carry that legacy. The lessons of these Trinities invite us to deepen our own spiritual lives, engage with sacred texts, Quran, Bible, Torah, to internalize their core messages. Pair study with heartfelt prayer and moments of quiet reflection to connect with the divine. Practice self-examination to cultivate humility, patience, and gratitude. The prophets and matriarchs modeled transformation. We are called to do the same. Integrating study, prayer, and self-reflection builds resilient, authentic faith. This inner work prepares us to bring light to the world through our actions. A faith that remains purely internal is like a tree with no branches. It cannot provide shade or fruit for others. The practical insights from the Triple Trinities compellingly call us to translate our inner conviction into outward action, embodying the nurturing and compassionate virtues represented by figures like Amina, Mary, and Rebecca. The most direct way to do this is by consciously living according to the ethical values at the heart of our faith. This means making compassion, honesty, kindness, and justice the guiding principles of our interactions with everyone we meet, whether they are family, neighbors, colleagues, or strangers. It is in these small daily choices, offering a kind word, showing patience in traffic, being honest in business, that we truly begin to walk in the footsteps of the prophets. This commitment to ethical living naturally extends into active participation in our communities. The nurturing qualities of the feminine archetypes inspire a sense of responsibility for the well-being of others. This can take many forms, from volunteering at a local food bank to participating in interfaith dialogue, or simply being a supportive presence for friends and family in need. Engaging in charitable initiatives and acts of service allows us to embody the mercy we hope to receive from God. These actions benefit not only the recipients, but also our own souls, softening our hearts, reducing our ego, and connecting us to our shared humanity. Embracing compassion also requires us to actively build bridges of understanding and respect, particularly with those from different faith traditions. The study of the various Triple Trinities reveals a shared spiritual heritage and common values that unite the Abrahamic faiths. We can put this insight into practice by seeking out opportunities to learn about other religions, engaging in respectful conversations, and standing in solidarity with others against injustice and prejudice. This proactive effort to foster harmony and mutual respect is a powerful expression of universal compassion. It transforms our faith from a source of division into a powerful force for unity and peace. In essence, the spiritual journey is a dual one. It is a vertical connection with God, deepened through prayer and reflection, and a horizontal connection with humanity strengthened through compassion and service. One cannot be complete without the other. By extending the branches of our faith outward through acts of kindness, community involvement, and interfaith cooperation, we fulfill the true purpose of our spiritual growth. We become vessels of the divine mercy we seek, participating in the betterment of the world and reflecting the holistic path to salvation illustrated by the Triple Trinity. As our exploration draws to a close, we arrive at a place of deeper understanding, seeing how the concept of the Triple Trinity serves as a powerful key to unlocking the multifaceted nature of faith. This framework, whether applied to Allah, Muhammad, and Amina, or to the parallel triads found across the Abrahamic traditions, reveals a profound and consistent spiritual architecture. It demonstrates that the path to salvation is not a monolithic pillar, but a beautifully woven tapestry, comprised of distinct yet interconnected threads. These threads, divine authority, prophetic guidance, and human nurturing, must all be present and intertwined to create a complete and resilient spiritual life. This synthesis moves us beyond a one-dimensional view into a more holistic appreciation of the divine plan. This journey has illuminated how each element contributes an indispensable quality to the whole. We have seen how the absolute authority and mercy of Allah serves as the ultimate source and destination. We have followed the footsteps of prophets like Muhammad and Jesus, who provide the practical, lived example of how to navigate the path. And we have felt the profound importance of the nurturing foundation laid by matriarchal figures like Amina, Mary, and Rebecca. whose love and wisdom cultivate the very ground in which faith can grow. This balanced perspective teaches us that a mature spirituality embraces both strength and gentleness, both divine command and human compassion, weaving them together in perfect harmony. The exploration of these triads ultimately reveals that the nature of faith itself is relational. It is about the relationship between the Creator and the created, between the divine message and its human recipient, and among human beings themselves. The Triple Trinity model provides a map for these relationships, showing how they support and reinforce one another on the journey towards spiritual fulfillment. It is a reminder that we do not seek God in a vacuum. We seek Him through the examples of those He has chosen, and through the loving, compassionate communities they inspire us to build. This understanding transforms faith from a solitary pursuit into a shared, collective journey toward the light. In synthesizing these lessons, we recognize that the true power of this framework lies in its completeness. It provides a comprehensive model for a life of purpose, one that satisfies the intellect's search for truth, the will's desire for guidance, and the heart's deep need for love and connection. By understanding and striving to integrate these different facets of faith into our own lives, we can move closer to the ideal of a balanced and whole spiritual being. The woven tapestry of the Triple Trinity is not just a theological concept to be admired. It is a practical blueprint for building a life of profound meaning and eternal significance. Our final reflection on the Triple Trinities leaves us with an inspiring and urgent call to action. A call to embrace our shared spiritual journey with a renewed sense of compassion and unity. By looking across the Abrahamic faiths, we have uncovered a common ground, a shared heritage rooted in the stories of prophets and matriarchs who all pointed toward the worship of one God. These parallel narratives of divine mercy, prophetic struggle, and nurturing love are not meant to be walls that divide us. Instead, they are bridges that connect us, revealing that our diverse paths are all ascending the same mountain, each offering a unique and beautiful view of the same ultimate truth. This recognition of a shared journey compels us to cultivate a spirit of universal compassion. The nurturing qualities embodied by Amina, Mary, and Rebecca are not virtues meant only for one's own family or community. They are a universal call to extend kindness, empathy, and support to all of humanity, regardless of their creed or background. The path to salvation, as illuminated by these traditions, is fundamentally tied to our treatment of others. It is a path that requires us to see the divine spark in every person and to act as vessels of the mercy that we ourselves hope to receive from God, creating a more just and loving world for all. This journey also calls us to move beyond mere tolerance and toward active engagement and mutual respect. The interconnectedness of figures like Abraham, Noah, and Jesus within the Islamic tradition is a powerful, built-in model for interfaith understanding. It encourages us to learn from one another, to celebrate our common values, and to stand together on the principles of peace and justice that all our faiths uphold. By focusing on the unifying threads of our shared spiritual tapestry, we can work together to solve the pressing challenges facing our world, transforming our collective faith into a powerful force for positive change and global harmony. Ultimately, the exploration of the Triple Trinity in all its forms is a profound reminder that we are all part of one human family on a collective quest for meaning and connection with the divine. It is a message of hope, demonstrating that despite our different languages and rituals, we are united by a common spiritual grammar of faith, love, and submission. As we conclude, let us carry forward this spirit of unity and compassion, recognizing that our individual paths to salvation are enriched and strengthened when we choose to walk them together as fellow travelers on a shared and sacred journey home.